Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the narcissist's biggest tool. The biggest tool they use to stay in power and make you lose yours. Watch this video. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new, please click the little subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. I've been doing a little redecorating, so stay with me. It's taking me a moment. I'm just setting up this office, so we'll see how it goes over the next few weeks. But today, I briefly wanted to mention that my emotional rehab program, which is healing inner wounds for highly sensitive people who are in toxic relationships, who just have inner wounds or who are just highly sensitive, is going to be relaunching in the next few months. So please stay with me. We're just doing some upgrades and you can get on the wait list below. Also, I should mention before I start to talk about anything, shadow work will be launching later this year. So also, if you want to do that course, please make sure you're on the wait list as well, because we only have a certain amount of people we can take for each time. So please do that. Let's dive in. So I always tell you guys how my sessions during the week always have the same theme. I can't make it up. It's the collective consciousness. In my monthly membership group, we are people from all over the world who are always going through the same thing at the same time. It's just the way that energy works. So, and by the way, sorry, my dog is eating a bone right here. So if you hear weird noises, that's Saint. Good boy. So this week's subjects were really relating to specifically narcissistic mothers, which is interesting, but also narcissistic partners. And the main theme that kept coming up was the main tool that the narcissist uses. The narcissist must always be in power. So if you have boundaries, that's not going to work for them, because your boundaries take away their supply, which is you doing everything for them at all times. You not having boundaries works for them. You not having needs works for them. This is why when you feel like you're in your power, they get threatened, so they have to do something to take your power away, usually by creating self-doubt. Self-doubt is the biggest issue when it comes to healing narcissistic wounds and injuries, because self-doubt is the thing that you were given because you actually had a strong sense of self, or you had a strong sense of what you needed. So many highly sensitive people come to me and they're like, I feel guilty for even having a need. I don't even know what my need is. Now I feel scared that I won't get my need met. It's because you were conditioned into thinking or believing that your survival is at stake if you have a need or a boundary that doesn't work with the narcissist, whoever that is, a parent, a sibling, a best friend, a boss, a husband, a wife, a partner. Doesn't matter who it is. I should also mention, when you have had some type of narcissistic injury occur, you're a highly sensitive person, you've been with someone who's very controlling or very selfish, or goes under the narcissistic, what I would say, characteristics. I don't diagnose, but I'm just talking briefly about the type of relationship you could be in. When you do that, you're going to have some nervous system issues, because what that does when you're constantly being put into self-doubt is you're also being in fear. When you don't trust yourself, you're in fear of self and life and others. So you're in a survival mode. You're in fight or flight. And what happens to your body is trauma. Trauma is when you experience negative emotion and there's no one there to support you. You're in it yourself. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent or you're in a narcissistic relationship, you're going to be in your negative emotions alone, because most narcissistic type people don't like emotion. In fact, they make you feel weird or wrong for having emotion, unless it's their own emotion, which then there's no boundaries on, right? You know what I'm talking about. So this is really complicated. But I'm bringing this up because so often people get confused when they start to learn about these dynamics. They start to get confused as to how someone has so much power or control over their own perception. When you're questioning your own reality and questioning your perception, that is the whole point. If you question your perception, then they have control over you. What they also do is make you think negative things about everyone else that you might trust, so that they're the only trusted person, so that when other people start seeing their weird stuff, you won't believe those other people. You'll believe your narcissist and say, those other people don't really love me, they're not supporting me, they don't know. You're the king or the queen, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a really cuckoo kind of thing that goes on. It's total gaslighting, and it's definitely scary, because you start to just trust that this person is your end all be all, and that is the biggest mistake we make. When we are in such self-doubt, we go to them for the answers. I had a new client from Austria this morning. He was so sweet, and we were talking about it's so complicated, right? But when you fall into doubt and you put this person on a pedestal, what starts to happen is you start to think that this is your North Star. What's so interesting is they create this fantasy self. It's not ever real. It's a false self. So that you do feel, okay, I want someone who's in control because I don't trust myself. Okay. When you come back into self and you start doing all the healing and you start to really trust and love and understand and anchor in self, you don't ever allow anyone else to tell you about you or what you should think or feel or do, right? But think about how natural it might be for you to do that. It might be very natural for you to question yourself and then feel very safe around someone who's controlling or very powerful or authoritative, because when that authoritative person is telling you how things should be, you're like, okay, I trust that because they're so confident, even though it's false confidence when it comes to narcissistic type people. But you'll think they're so confident, so you know what, they're more confident than me, they must be right. You guys know what I'm talking about. So their number one tool is creating self-doubt in you by taking away your power, by not allowing you to have boundaries. Now, the way we go around this is by having that aligned action I talk about in a lot of my videos with your own boundary, regardless of thinking they're going to leave you, regardless of these abandonment issues, regardless of the fear of rejection, regardless of feeling alone or like I don't belong or I'm not part of a tribe. When you abandon yourself for someone else, you're already in the abandonment wound. When you can hold on to yourself regardless of them, you start to do the healing. So as a self-partnering strategy, the number one thing we can do is have those strong boundaries, even if it comes out wrong sometimes. You can notice what you're noticing and saying, that's weird, I noticed that. When oftentimes you won't say that because they'll get upset. Say it. You're rolling your eyes. That's weird. Why are you rolling your eyes at me? I have a client that I was working with last week, and she was telling me about her mom rolling her eyes every time she'd turn around. I'm like, why don't you call her on it? She's like, oh, Candace, I could never do that. I said, or maybe you can. Say, Mom, I just saw you roll your eyes at me. That's strange. Those undercover, covert narcissistic things to make you feel criticized and unsafe and unsure yourself and doubt yourself. We have to start calling people on those things. Oh, that's strange. You were just talking to my aunt about me. Why would you do that? Triangulation, right? There's all these things that create self-doubt. And the way we end that self-doubt is by having self-certainty, by stepping up and saying, what did you just do? What are they going to say? I didn't do that? Gaslight you? I didn't really do that. Okay, well, I took a picture, and here's the picture. You did that. Oftentimes people ask me, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when someone truly did something. Let's say someone's wearing a red shirt, and you're like, oh, you're wearing a red shirt. They're like, no, it's not. It's black. There's something wrong with your eyes. There's no red shirt. And they're like wearing a really bright red shirt. It makes you question yourself. Do I need to get my eyes checked? That's an extreme example, but that's what it's like living with someone who's narcissistic, where you're like, oh, you just rolled your eyes, and everyone in the room saw it, and they're like, you're crazy. I wasn't. I was just like fixing. You're like, no, you rolled your eyes. And everyone's like, no, he rolled his eyes. And you're like, you rolled your eyes. No, I absolutely didn't. You guys are all crazy. Okay? These are the types of things we need to start calling out and saying, I'm owning my perception. And I'm going to own my perception enough times where it becomes the truth of my reality, because it is the truth. So to combat that narcissistic tactic of making you have self-doubt is to anchor in self more, self-partner more, self-care more, stand up for what you see and feel more, regardless of the doubts that you have. Because when you start doing that, even though you're doubting, you'll start to see that there's no reason to doubt. In fact, you were right. People are afraid to find out that they're right because then they're like, oh gosh, do I have to admit that something bad happened to me? No. You just have to admit that this person is a little bit different than you thought. You also have to admit that you might be a little bit wiser than you thought. And what's so scary about that? You're going to stand in your light. You're going to have a nice life. Real scary. More videos on that in my shadow work course, because in shadow work, I not only talk about the dark shadow, I'm going to be talking about the golden shadow, the part of you that's really afraid to shine and be in the light. So more on that later. You guys, if you're on Instagram, please come and give a little follow and DM me if you feel like it. Also, please check the links below for all the wait lists and all the other stuff, coaching and all that stuff. I love you guys so much. Please share this video with at least one person you think it might be able to help. And I'm always open to your comments below. I can't wait to read them and get back with you, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.